Now, previously, we briefly saw that we can manipulate the CSS style of a selected element by simply using the .css method from jQuery. So, for example, we can select our h1 and we can say .css, and we can add the CSS property that we want to change. So, for example, the color. And our second input is the value for that property. So we're going to change it to green this time. And now if I hit save and refresh, then you can see our h1 has been selected and the CSS color property has been changed to green. Now, this method is really flexible. For example, you can get the current value of the CSS property by simply having the name of the property in some quotation marks as a string inside the method. And now we can console log the value of this. And when we refresh our website, you'll see that we get the RGB, the red, green, black value of our h1's color, which is black. And if we wanted something like, say, font size, and refresh, then you can see that the current h1 has a font size of 32. And we're getting that by using the .css method. So remember with this method that if you have a single property in it, then you're getting the value of it. And if you have two properties in it, then you're setting the value. Now, as we said before, changing something that's related to the style inside our JavaScript code is not that great. It feels a little bit dirty. And that's because we need to separate our concerns. Keep our JavaScript code all about behavior, keep our style code all about the appearance, and keep our HTML all about content. So how can we do that? Well, what if instead of adding our CSS by using the CSS method, we had a class inside our style sheet? Let's call it big title. And this is going to have a font size of 10 rem. And it's also going to have a color of yellow. And finally, we're going to make the font family cursive. All right. So now that we've got this class inside our style sheet, we can use jQuery to add that class to our selected element. So we're selecting our h1, and by writing .addClass, and then inside the parentheses, we'll add the name of the class, which, let's just remind ourselves, was called big-title. Big-title. And now if we hit save and refresh, then you can see that we've added all of those awful looking CSS to our h1. And this is a much better way of separating our behavior from our styles. Now, just as you can add class, you can also remove class. So now that we've added this horrendous yellow color, we can select our h1 and use the .removeClass method to remove this big title class from our h1. And you can see once I run that, then all of those styles that belong to the big title CSS rule disappears. Now, if you wanted to add or remove multiple classes, let's say we add another one called margin 50. And in this one, we simply add a margin of 50 pixels, hit save, and now inside our index.js, in order to add multiple classes, all we need to do is just to include them inside the same set of quotation marks, but with a space in between. So our second class was called margin-50, and now we're selecting our h1 and we're adding all of the classes. So that's big title as well as margin 50. So if we hit save and refresh, you can see that we're getting both classes applied to our h1. Now, another really useful method from jQuery is we can see whether or not if our element has a particular class. So we can select our h1 and then we can say .hasClass, and we're going to query for the margin 50 class. And now if we hit enter, then you can see that it'll give you a true or false Boolean, depending on whether or not the element does indeed have that class applied. Now, in the next lesson, we're going to look at how we can use jQuery to manipulate not just styles, but also text. So for all of that and more, I'll see you on the next lesson.